I'll be using Finish Line Factory for all of the plumbing on this vehicle. This right here is only the oiling and coolant system, so you can see how much a system really takes once it's all planned out. There's tons of fittings, so let's get after it. So plumbing, we're going to start first with the heater core / turbo cooling. These two ports that I have taped off were the original heater core lines that go back to here. Those will end up getting cut short right on the firewall, and then I've got fittings to come out. But the first one, pre-thermostat, is going to go into the turbo, out of the turbo, into the heater core, out of the heater core, around, and then back in post thermostat. So let's get to it. So I made the first 3 lines. I've got this line coming in, so I'll need to cut off down there and weld on the new fitting into the turbo, out of the turbo. Again, I'll have to cut off by the firewall and weld a button on there, but that'll fit perfectly in there. And then I've got the return, the lower one, coming out around. And again, this will get welded onto there. The next lines we're going to be building are the oil cooler lines. Now typically it'll run in the inner fender of the passenger side. Again, rally car, I don't like that idea. And of course I packed all of the front of the car, so I don't have any room to put the oil cooler there. So I have this nice big 10 by 10 square back here, but that's for a different video. These lines I'm gonna have come up, loop, and stop right here. And then underneath, I will build stainless hard lines under the diff and then under the axle up into the oil cooler. It'll be plenty protected. I won't ever have to worry about any kind of carnage hitting the lines. I may even build a shield that might be unnecessary. But it'll have a mounting bracket off of the 2 lower transmission mount bolts, and yeah. I got the stainless lines ran. You can see just how much clearance there is. I think that'll be plenty. And they run down there, and then I have soft lines just waiting to get the fittings to fit the set rab. This one will be a banjo, just the way it happens. So I was able to get a few little welding projects done today at lunch. The coolant pipe that runs behind the motor, the nipple was close to the exhaust, so I just welded that. The heater core, since the lines are coming off of the turbo and they're AN, so I welded AN fittings onto the heater core. Coming from the thermostat housing, these will go to the turbo and come back into the heater core. And then I got my dash 20 AN fittings welded on the radiator, so I'm gonna hope to get all this back in tonight. And here I'm just adding a little heat protection on the turbo coolant lines just because of how close they are to the turbine housing. So now we are building the coolant lines to the radiator. This isn't the preferred method, but I don't have a vise, I don't have a table. I had a 2x4 and a hammer. Ran to AutoZone to grab two big pliers so I could assemble the lines. And it just goes to show that you don't need fancy equipment to get the job done. Here I'm just putting a small bit of anti-seize on the threads. The last thing you want to do with aluminum fittings is to assemble them dry. It's a great way to mar the threads, to get the fittings stuck on the threads, and ultimately it ruins it. So this is just a good precaution. Because I disassembled and reassembled the cooling system multiple times, I ran into some snags, some ways to do things better. I cut off the original elbow from a coil rad radiator. I welded on this nice smooth radius bend, got the radiator hose plenty away from the intercooler pipe. I've got the swirl pot all finished up, and I've actually started production of them. If you're interested, I'll drop a link to my website in the description. Let's see, the lower hose I actually had to shorten. If you saw in the video, is really close to the radiator. Now there's plenty of distance around there. That's good. The only thing left to plumb on the Evo is the fuel system. I don't have fittings for it, but it's been a month since I have posted the last video. I went and volunteered at the Prescott rally. I've been super busy, so I'll maybe film that later, maybe not. It's all kind of the same. Plumbing is plumbing. I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure to check back for the next video. Thanks.